They're all kind of grouped up here, though, so shoot! 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 Oh, that was a huge shot. That was good. And we are in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this first game in the semi-final best-of-5 matchup between Mr. Yo, playing as the Huns, and Really Diao, or Vivi, playing as the Huns, of course. This is the Legacy of the Huns semi-finals matchup. Huns only this whole tournament. And as I was saying to the chat, the Voobly official chat beforehand, these players are very evenly matched. Traditionally, Mr. Yo has been always known as the best 1 versus 1 Huns player. He was able to go toe-for-toe with the Viper in the 1 versus 1 invitational tournament about 2.5 years ago. Man, I've been in this community for quite a while if I remember that, but he's always been at the top 1 versus 1. Recently, however, in the last year, Vivi has significantly improved in 1 versus 1s. He's got a very unique playstyle since Wololo Kingdoms with very aggressive, sometimes to his detriment, but very aggressive, control the map playstyle. And it should be really fun to watch. It's always a pleasure to watch Vivi's games. And if you haven't seen any of his games before, well, where have you been? Under a rock? But it should be a lot of fun to watch him today, anyway. And yeah, this is a new Huns War. This is the Wololo Kingdoms. So these aren't your traditional Huns Wars. There's been a few balance changes, which I could go over. Again, if you've been under a rock for a while. So basically, their economy bonus was nerfed just a little bit since the houses cost 5 wood. Not a big deal. Cavalry archers cost a little bit more, which is a little bit of a big deal. And Tarkans are now much more viable with +1 pierce armor for the non-elite and elite version, as well as they're able to be made out of stables with the Huns' unique technology. So with those differences, we might see a little less cavalry archer focused play, and more knights, more Tarkans, more variation here. However, cavalry archers are probably still the way to go, and I'm very interested to see how this shapes out. It's been quite a while since I saw Huns Wars. Alright, so now that we've introduced the players a little bit, first, let's check out this. This is a little interesting. Vivi's actually gone forward with his scout, and he's actually going to steal the sheep of Mr. Yo. And this is Vivi scouting right away. Just scouted the main part of his base, found 6 of his sheep, so he's doing pretty all right. Might have 2 more to find, I think. And sometimes hard to see on the mini-map, but he's got 3 relics next to him. And now he's going to scout the rest of Mr. Yo's base. Let's check Mr. Yo's scouting since we checked Vivi's scouting. Somewhat similar scouting, actually. Went straight over to Vivi's base. So both these players are thinking along the same lines. They're really, they're really trying to win. No sportsmanship here. If you didn't know already, Vivi used to be a part of Psy, and I believe he's now a part of Frantic in the ECL. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. But so these guys used to be really close on the same team. They both used to play for China in the Nations Cup. There were 2 Nations Cup, and they were a very big deal. A lot of money involved for 2 years. And now they're on different teams because there was a little bit of controversy there, which I'm not really going to go into. And I think they've gotten past most of that as well, although they are still on different teams now. So these players certainly have a lot of history. Certainly, I'm sure all the Chinese players play together quite a bit. And Mr. Yo still does not have a loom, so therefore Vivi is going to be delaying this boar, which is not nice. You want to go usually 21 population scouts. That's the main strategy for the Huns. Sometimes you can see a Dark Age or a Men-at-Arms rush, or Tower rush, as Vivi likes to do. But Huns has always been, Scouts have always been the dominant strategy for the Huns, except for a while there. Maybe a good year or 2 where the Dark Age rush really was very prominent for whatever reason. Even without balance changes, the meta tends to change a little bit. And Vivi's just being really annoying here. It looks like he's going to lose the scout battle, probably. And he might actually take this fight. I think that scout is on the bottom of the hill, and Mr. Yo's not really paying attention. Yeah. So Yo's going to have to go back. This is very annoying. Of course, this is going to get onto scout-on-scout action in the feudal age, so every little bit of HP matters, and this is certainly disrupting Mr. Yo's build order. We'll see if it impacts his uptime. If he has to go up 1 population later, that could be a big difference in this game. Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit about the map, because the maps are really important when these civilizations are so aggressive. So Vivi is going to choose to put a double lumber line on this 1 wood. He's got a gold on the right side. And forward berries. How can he wall his map? It's going to be a little bit tough. He's going to have to spend a lot of wood on it. Still probably be open. He could wall a little here. Wall like this. That's not a big deal. This is very tough. Going to be very tough to wall. Maybe he'll try to wall in through here. One good or bad thing, though, most of his resources are towards the back, and hopefully he could just be able to defend this little box right here with some spearmen or whatever he needs to do. Would be a lot worse if his gold was forward. And speaking of forwards, there we go. Vivi going to go for a forward. He's gone up on 22 population, 21 which are villagers, and Mr. Yo has gone for a Dark Age Rush. And is starting to wall up heavily. Should not get those walls up in time before those villagers come in forward. So two very different strategies from these players. I was wrong about the scouts play entirely. And I'm glad to see some variation in the strategy. Again, this is why we're watching these games. The Huns can have quite a bit of variation, even in a mirror war. So Vivi going to take out that scout. That's great. Less scouting information from Mr. Yo. That's really important. This is not a big deal because Vivi didn't look like he was going to go for the deer anyway. And let's see what damage Mr. Yo could do. As Vivi has gone here and undetected, remember, Mr. Yo just lost a scout. Gonna go with the barracks right away and probably plop down an archery range. This is high risk. Vivi always plays high risk, high reward. On the one hand, he could lose his military buildings, could lose 4 villagers here. On the other hand, this could be really surprise Mr. Yo and do quite a bit of damage. And Lumber Lime's going to get walled up. And Militia are forward. Now, where should the Militia be? The Militia should actually defend against the forward. You never want to go forward against a player that's building Militia if they find you. Obviously, Mr. Yo has not found Vivi. And this archer range is already up. So this Dark Age Rush, very ineffective. And should go around to the right side. Maybe can pick off a villager. We'll have to see. Vivi, of course, only on food and wood. Gonna go with spearmen and skirmishers. And now Mr. Yo has seen. However, the archer range and the barracks is already up. And this village is getting quite low. Gonna take too many shots from these villagers. Oh, wow! That was, wow. Great micro. One less shot and that villager would not have gone down. One villager lead from Vivi. Vivi's probably gonna plop down a tower here. And he's got enough military at this stage to defend against it. As Vivi's going to try, as Mr. Yo is going to try to deny it, but it's clearly not going to work. Mr. Yo panic a little bit. He needs to run his villagers back. He's actually going to build a counter tower, going to build another militia. And this tower is up on 50% now. Here we go. Mr. Yo just advancing the feudal age, can now put down his tower. Going to upgrade to men-at-arms. Men-at-arms! However, tower is almost up. Will Mr. Yo lose an additional villager? There we go. Tower is up. No villagers down quite yet. These villagers are under the tower. This could be a very successful defense from Mr. Yo. Wow. This is what we were talking about. High risk, high reward. On the one hand, though, Vivi has already done his damage. His opponent is off of gold. And has had to completely redesign his strategy. Has had to upgrade to men-at-arms. And this village is getting very low. 7 HP left. Just a few more skirmisher volleys, and she should be down. That villager's going to take too many shots. And if Vivi's on stone, he can plop down another tower. However, he's just gone over to stone right now. One thing you want to be aware of when you go forward, and I learned this through experience, is you really want to have a good idea of when you want to take stone, if you want to take stone. If Vivi was on stone 1 minute earlier, he'd have enough stone to put up another tower, which would be a big deal. This is looking really good for Vivi, though. He's upgraded to men-at-arms. Men-at-arms typically do very well against spearmen and skirmishers, and villagers as well. 2 archer ranges up from Mr. Yo. Vivi is, of course, walled in, so these 4 villagers could go down. Villager count right now is 31 to 30. And that's unfortunate. You never want to have that happen. Never want the archer to get battered down by a men-at-arm. And it looks like this could be a potentially big blow to Vivi, as these villagers are getting very weak. They have nowhere left to run. Military count 7 to 6. And that villager's certainly going to go down. I know. William Wallace Ultra Hardcore. And I don't know, if you're Vivi, do you keep building skirmishers? They're most likely still going to go down. On the one hand, Mr. Yo is wasting a lot of villager idle time right now. But on the other hand, this could be a lot of wasted resources if all these skirmishers go down. One big thing here is going to be the fletching upgrade. Players going to want to afford that as soon as possible. And going back to Vivi, I'm actually curious. Yeah, he's taken his villagers off of stone. That's the correct decision. Obviously, there's no forward villages to build any towers yet. And he's going to go forward with 4 new villagers. This is how Vivi plays. If he's lost his forward, he's just going to send more villagers forward. And there is still a little bit of a hole here, which Mr. Yo might not be aware of. Looks like these archer ranges might get walled in time. As you can see, Vivi's still building units out of these archer ranges. Has started to switch over to archers to do more damage to the village. It's going to plop a tower down right here. With that tower, should be able to break through these palisade walls and free this archer range if it does get walled in. Quick reaction from Mr. Yo. Does see it through the palisade walls line of sight, which is very small, by the way. And this tower might get denied, which is certainly going to be another big issue for Vivi. So if Vivi placed it a little bit further back, should have been able to get that tower up. He's going to actually try to force this tower up. I'm going to go over to Vivi's point of view to see the percentage. 85% right now. And these villagers are just too low now. In fact, this villager will very likely go down. Just needs one more hit. That villager decided she didn't have the guts to do it, apparently. Okay, she's going to get away. Wow. Very lucky there. And just going to batter down that tower. Actually be faster maybe to wall it in, but this village just could just come back and build another tower. And Vivi's actually sending only 1 villager over. Maybe for a sneaky tower somewhere up in the north. Right now, big difference in this game, though. 3 extra villagers for Mr. Yo. 12 extra military. Lots of farms for Mr. Yo, about 10. Same thing for Vivi, though. So food count is doing pretty well. And Vivi has now transitioned into scouts, which is something we... And the Huns really love their feudal war, so it's something that's quite often we see from the Huns. Other civilizations, if this was, I don't know, Saracens or a civilization without great eco bonuses, the Goths, they would not invest so heavily into the feudal age. Which again, makes the Huns pretty fun to watch. Other civilizations wouldn't invest back into a stable. So remember that Hun stables work 20% faster. And there's quick reaction from Mr. Yo, though, adding 1 spearman in. That spearman saved all of those skirmishers. Ooh, horse collar coming in from Vivi. This is one of those times, whenever a player never researches horse collar, you never really see the direct effect of it. But it actually, it does make a huge impact on the economy. That's a lot of wood wasted by getting that so late. And that's what happens sometimes when you forward your opponent. Sometimes it's necessary to save that 75 food, 75 wood for other things that might be more important. However, there's a lot of wasted wood for Vivi. These 2 archery ranges, basically unusable now. Only positive thing for Vivi right now, I mean, he's going scouts. And maybe he's caused a little bit of extra idle time for Mr. Yo, although I don't think so, considering he's down on villagers. And it looks like this villager's heading back to do some work back at home. Now, interestingly, Vivi is still taking stone. That might be for town centers. He's only up on 100 stone. He has chosen to wall this way like we predicted in the very beginning of the game. However, is not walled up over here. Market coming down from Mr. Yo. And these players should be up at about the same time. Mr. Yo very low on gold, actually, just transitioning to gold right now. He's been, of course, on skirmishers and spearmen only. And Vivi's actually the first player to click up to the next stage. Better economy management from Vivi, I think. However, he will have to defend from these spearmen and skirmishers. This tower, okay, stone is safe. These farms, a little bit exposed. Not too much, though. There's 2 towers here. Those are great placements on the towers. And if Vivi can just wall in through here, he's good to go. So that investment on stone, looking to pay off quite a bit. And these skirmishers and spearmen not going to be very strong in the next age. If Vivi wants to go knights, certainly he'll go knights. Just want to keep these guys alive for now. And don't worry about that berry bush. It's only got 17 food left on it. So in the next stage, skirmishers can be very effective against cavalry archers. However, the spearmen will not be that effective against the knights. You could upgrade to pikemen, but why invite the Huns players to make cavalry archers? If Mr. Yo makes the pikeman upgrade, then we could see cavalry archer from Vivi. Oh boy, one more villager down. So certainly a very even game so far, despite all the action at the beginning. I would say Mr. Yo has a slight lead here. He's got more military, he's got more villagers. Although Vivi is going to be up about a minute earlier. Best thing Vivi could do, make a few knights and clean up this army right away. Would not hesitate on that. Meanwhile, Mr. Yo's going to go 3 archer ranges. Sorry, 5 ranges. For once the spectators were... Was it 5 archer ranges? No, it's 3. Oh, no, it's 5. There we go. It's 5. For once the spectators in the chat were useful. So there we go. Knight's going to be created right away. Remember, again, Hun Stable's creating faster. And, oh, no, don't take that fight quite yet. Oh, that was a close one. The spearman didn't attack anything. Surprisingly, this knight's going to actually go to the left, and one knight's going to go towards the south. Vivi doesn't think he needs both knights here, and he might be right. That knight's going to get fairly low. Spearmen are going to get distracted. Oh, no, oh, yeah, they're going to get a knight. Okay. But all these skirmishes are going to go down. So the military count's going to be even out now. The interesting thing about this game is that we have full cavalry archers from Mr. Yo. And for Vivi, we have full knights. And this can lead itself to different playstyles. Remember, again, before previous Age of Conquerors wars, cavalry archers were dominant. However, they are more expensive now. And normally, Huns players in AOC, 5 archer ranges, no problem. Now... might be a little bit more of a problem. So Mr. Yo, he's doing very well. 5 archer ranges all working. However, he's going to be low on gold in a second here. And therefore, all of these ranges won't be able to work. And as a Knights player, you really want to be able to do some good raiding. But either army composition. But it's more like a brute force approach. Later on in the game, if there becomes a mass of 25 cavalry archers versus, 20 knights, you can one-shot with the cavalry archers and run back. Walls are very important for a cavalry archer player. So you can have enough time to mass up. And, of course, Mr. Yo has those walls. He needs to keep them up. And 1 extra town center from Mr. Yo. 1 extra town center from Vivi. Going to want to find another wood line. This one's starting to be very inefficient. Going to want to move on to the bottom one. And aside from that, Vivi really doesn't have very much other good wood lines. That's going to be a dead knight right there. Or not. Not enough cavalry archers quite yet. Vivi getting the monks already. I would prefer this town center right here. There it's 1 tile off and not going to be able to prevent cavalry archer raiding very much. And there's actually a small hole here. And another big upgrade here is going to be the husbandry upgrade. Now only 150 food. With the husbandry upgrade, both players should be able to attack and defend a lot easier. Yeah, I agree. Habisfi. I did pronounce it right. So, yeah, I agree. The cavalry archers are certainly more flexible. It's a more ideal army composition. And again, later and later, the cavalry archers should be stronger than the knights. One thing you can do with knights, though, you can add skirmishers to them. Wow. Vivi's actually going with the Scorpion over Mangonel. I actually like that decision, I think. And this should be enough knights to take this fight. Let's see. Again, I hope... I don't think Vivi has husbandry. I haven't seen it come up researched on the top. That's a big, big upgrade. And ballistics just being done. So these cavalry archers can hit and run a lot easier. Thumbring's going to be the next big one. And this fight has not gone very well for Vivi. Maybe with the Scorpion we'll do a little bit better. We have the Monk here. He's going to maybe get a conversion. And a very forward town center from Mr. Yo. This is actually his gold, I believe. And where is this husbandry upgrade? Am I mad? I'm gonna check the tech tree, because this is very important. Oh, I think it has been researched. My bad. Okay, it has been researched. I must have missed it. Anyway, I'm liking these Scorpion editions. The Mangonels are more expensive. They're not really that effective against Cavalry Archers, because the Cavalry Archers are so mobile and so beefy. And really, they take up a lot of space, too. Let's check the villager count. 10 villagers ahead for Mr. Yo. However, we'll have 3 relics. We did mention at the beginning of the game he had 3 relics right next to him. And you know these are great players when they're actually picking up the relics. I never do in my games. Yeah, there we go. 3 town centers. 4 town centers for Mr. Yo, actually. Should pull ahead in economy and gonna add a siege workshop, too. So it's really good when you're ahead in economy and you're also being the aggressor. You really have both things going for you. Thumb Ring, that's the last big upgrade for Cavalry Archers. And let's see how these Scorpions do, I guess. But Vivi looks to be in a tough spot this game. The Cavalry Archers' numbers are high. They're able to 1- or 2-shot Knights. That one was weak. And now we'll just see probably a Mangonel from Mr. Yo to counter the Scorpions, I assume. And this is something I'm glad to see. This is something that's kind of new. As soon as they see the flags on the siege workshop, they run back. It's kind of something new to see. I wonder if this is going to be like new meta or whatever. But we're seeing Scorpions to counter the Cavalry Archers instead of the Mangonels traditionally. And one reason for that, the Scorpions got an additional Pierce armor in the Wololo Kingdoms, making them more effective against Archer type units. And there we go. Mangonel's going to pop out. Going to get 1. 1 for 1 is not a great trade. 2 for 1 is a good trade, though. Monk going to come in from behind these Cavalry Archers. There's way too many. Even a few Knights being added from Mr. Yo. Going to diversify his army. I believe that was a stable. That was from the stable. Yeah, the upgrades are different. Monk's going to put in some work. I'm going to keep my eye out. Yeah, there's more Knights being created. This is the strongest army composition you could possibly have. Knights and Cavalry Archers for the Huns. And this is going to be very hard for Vivi to defend. Ram EV being made from Mr. Yo. This is going to be the vulnerable town center for Vivi. He needs to put everything he can to defend this town center. He's got no castles on the way. That's not going to be an option. I'm going to switch over to Mangonels. Apparently didn't like how the Scorpions did against the Mangonels of Mr. Yo. The Mangonels, of course, will be good against the Rams, too. And it's really up to this one big fight. If Vivi loses one big fight here, it's game over. And don't want to play too much with these Knights. These Cavalry Archers do have Thumb Ring Ballistics. They're all kind of grouped up here, though, so shoot! 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 Oh, that was a huge shot. That was good. Killing a lot of Cavalry Archers, weakening up some others. And that was perfect. Those 2 Mangonel shots were really enough to take it away. I don't know why Mr. Yo dived in so deep there. And here, I think... Oh, would I take that? That's a close one. It's hard to tell. So the Knights have a good surround of the Cavalry Archers. However, they're on top of the hill. I think this is a great fight for Vivi, actually. If you ever fight Knights right on top of Cavalry Archers, why did Mr. Yo do this? Why did he trap his Cavalry Archers in there? He's going to lose all of them, basically. Now, military count, 5 ahead from Vivi. Castle coming up from Yo, though. That's a nice position on that castle. But basically, Mr. Yo losing a lot of his advantage right there. Having to switch into pikemen now. And now, Vivi, only behind by 5 villagers, has 3 relics in the bank, though. And military count, 10 ahead. Now 5 ahead as they're losing some. 5 ahead from Vivi, going full Knights. That was a great fight from Vivi. Never fight Knights straight up. Always have to hit and run with Cavalry Archers. And he was doing so good at that until he ran in. Ran in, tried to take out those Mangonels, then took a terrible fight here. Mr. Yo, however, advancing to the Imperial Age. Might have another castle on the way. Vivi's got the gold. He doesn't have the food. He's got a lot of farms, though. What he needs to do is discontinue night production just for a minute here. I would cancel every single night. And should be up to the next stage fairly shortly. Get out a castle of your own. Probably not in the front, though, because you have the castle here. And is Mr. Yo going to go full halberdier? I wonder. Or full cavalry archers. Going to make more pikemen. That's not that many, though. It's going to take a while to go halberdier with 1 barracks. 2 barracks going to be added. This economy's not very well set up for halberdier, though. Not a lot of food. Way too much gold and wood. It's very well set up for cavalry archers. And probably you should want to continue cavalry archer production with these kinds of resources. Maybe it wasn't a plan, but you always have to play with the resources that you're given. And this could be a potentially very bad part of the game for Mr. Yo as he's making this transition. As he's not making any cavalry archers anymore, not making very much military at all. And now these knights are just going to push that advantage. And could potentially get a very good raid. I wouldn't fight the pikemen right now. Again, no upgrades quite yet. Mr. Yo, still no archery rages coming out. These are very smart walls from Vivi. Want to prevent the raiding in the later game. And boy, what an excellent game we have for our first game in this best of 5. The Legacy of the Huns semifinals matchup. What an excellent game. Archery range being added from Vivi. Now what counters cavalry archers and pikemen? Skirmishers counter both. And perhaps we'll see that from him. Perhaps we'll see cavalry archers too. That monk's a dead monk. Oh well. There's the Imperial Age. Not going to be a big deal here though. And that's an okay fight to take against the pikemen. You're heavily outnumbering them. This will be relic number 4 from Vivi. Able to just sneak that one away. That'll bode well for the late game. And is Mr. Yo going Tarkans? It's hard to tell. He's doing a little bit of everything. He's got 6 Tarkans out. I don't see any more. No more stables, of course. One thing in Age of Empires you never want to do, before you have a fully set up economy, is a little bit of everything. Castle getting denied! That would have been epic. Walls are up. The villagers will have to go around the long way. Oh, it's a shame that wasn't built. That's a big waste. That's 400 stone wasted right there. And all the villagers that died. So villager numbers even. Military numbers just about even. Cavalier and Elite Tarkin coming in. Gonna go full stables. Probably gonna research the Marauders tech right after Elite Tarkin. And man, this, if you wanted to go 1 unit against Tarkans, it's either the Halberdier or the Knight. And I'm really liking the army composition from Vivi. One big downside, though. Vivi's running low on gold. He's not able to take this gold. Knights cost a lot of gold compared to cavalry archers. That's an okay fight to take. And let's see if there's any vulnerable spots the raid. Can absolutely decimate this part of the map. And I think that should be the goal. And right now, just want to mass enough cavalry in the back of his base to eventually deal with this. Won't need too many. Need about maybe 10, 12 knights, right, to take care of that. Those cavalry archers don't have the bracer upgrade, I believe. And just go out. Just take out that town center. Go to town, man. Here, this is not a huge deal. Should have enough cavalier pretty soon. This, however, is a big deal. These Tarkans can eventually take down a town center. Just really pump Vivi. Use the market as much as possible. You're going to be doing some good eco damage here. Just have to not take enough damage at home. Halberdier finally coming in. But we saw Mr. Yo 2 or 3 fights losing a lot of pikemen before they were upgraded. Gotta garrison that town center. And somehow that castle did get up. These walls were not actually completed until very late. And big deal though, Mr. Yo has control of a lot of that gold. Villager numbers, however, going to go in favor of Vivi by about 10. And we'll have to back out as the Halberdier gets upgraded. And he needs to come home with all of these Cavalier and defend himself here. First castle coming up for Vivi. Would have been nice to see a castle earlier, especially on this hill. Would have helped so much. And castle going to get denied. This is looking actually really bad for Vivi now. as he's losing his town centers. If he loses a lot of villagers here, it could be a good game. Both players have been losing a lot of villagers. Vivi's just going to go down to about the same number as Mr. Yo in a second here. And the target's showing really how effective of raiders they could be. In the back of the base. Going to repair the town center. 23 HP left. Okay, it's down. It's down. And Mr. Yo just going to rebuild this town center right exactly where it was. Here's those knights that came back. They should be able to fight against the Tarkans. Let's check the difference in the upgrades. Cavaliers have 1 extra attack. Although these Tarkans have Blast Furnace, so they actually have 1 more attack at the moment. 1 extra melee armor. For the Cavalier, tons more HP for the Tarkan. The Tarkan's very strong. Wow. And keep in mind, I think the Tarkan costs less than the Cavalier. So it appears the Tarkans are a very strong option for the Huns now. They're easier to produce out of the stables. That was the main problem with them before. And then in theory, Cavaliers should be just as strong, if not stronger, but it hasn't really worked out that way. Paladins for sure would be a lot stronger, but can't have that amount of gold on a 1 versus 1 Arabia map. This gold is really important for Vivi to take back. Could even try to go for the castle with just Cavalier at this stage. And he needs to make some sort of push here. He needs to defend from these raids. The walls were a great idea until this castle got up. As you can see, the castle's working on the walls. One thing you don't want to be as a Huns player is you don't want to be defensive all the time. I think what Vivi needs to do, well, first he needs to defend against this. Oh my god, the Tarkan's taking down the town center so fast. Before the Cavalier can even get over here. 110 villagers right now. Let's see how many these Tarkans can take out. It might be a little bit trapped here as the Cavalier are going to cut them off. Hopefully they can attack. Attack! Yeah, there you go. Wow, that's going to be a big loss for Mr. Yo. Lose a lot of HP on those Tarkans. But I think the Tarkan is faster as well. A little bit of a crisis avoided for Mr. Yo. Certainly we need to see the trebuchet battle happen. And one thing that Vivi really needs to do, he needs to add some sort of trash into his army. Halberdier would be the obvious, most logical choice. But I wonder how much resources Vivi really has for that. He's got no resources in the bank at all. No resources, no wood to make a barracks, no food to make Halberdier. And without that transition, I think Vivi's not going to be able to hold here. The Halberdier are going to make it much harder on the Cavalier. Going to save Mr. Yo a lot of gold in the long term. And he's forced to take this fight against the Halberdier. Going to lose a lot of Cavalier. And he still needs enough Cavalier to fight off these Tarkans. Tarkan's going to take down the castle in an instant. Yeah, it looks like sudden death with the Tarkans under the TC, you're right. Nothing going on over here. And why would Mr. Yo stand and fight this? He could just make some more Halberdier and eventually run them into the Cavalier later on. All the advantages for Mr. Yo right now. Vivi needs to transition to something, needs to prevent these raids. He thought that Mr. Yo was going back to the castle, but nope, just gonna go for another town center. Can take that out, run away. And down that goes. I don't know if that was worth it, though. And sure, that's a very strong army for Vivi, but how are you going to replace it without gold? It's a total of 800 gold left on this mine. Remember, he's got the 4 relics. This could be another castle from Mr. Yo, solidifying this gold once again, taking away Vivi's gold over here. Mr. Yo knows exactly the situation he's in. He knows just gotta cut off Vivi's gold a little bit longer. Defend with some Halberdier. Vivi's gonna say GG right there. Great game. So in this game, we really saw the big differences between Knights versus Cavalry Archer play. We saw Mr. Yo use the Tarkan to great effect. We saw Vivi go for a crazy forward, and Mr. Yo defend it excellently. And really, that big difference between that Cavalry and Cavalry Archer Castle Age, I think that was the big difference in this game. Great play for Mr. Yo. It's going to be 1-0 for Mr. Yo, and Vivi will look to get it back in the next round. Take care.